Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. Good evening, wherever you are in the world today. Well, it's Saturday. It's 10 a.m. in the morning here, which means that we have to go back and do some MLOps.net. Good morning, Brett. Good to have you on the stream today. Hope you're doing well. Hope everyone's doing well. How's everyone's week been? I hope it's been good. It's been a busy week for myself here with some pretty fun stuff happening. And I'm super excited for us to get back to some things here. So if you have followed the ML.net virtual ML.net conference, you will know that we are planning on a November conference as well. So we're planning on getting on back to on the road again and let me close this off. And do a hackathon in November, which is going to be really fun, which I'm really looking forward to. So definitely stay tuned for that. I think it's going to be partial workshop, partial hackathon for over a week, just after that conference. So that should be really fun. So if you are into that, definitely tune into that one, and we will have a good time. Another thing I want to mention before we get started today as well is that some of you may definitely know that there's this .NET community stand-up. I think it's like bi-weekly, every second week or so, where the .NET community talks about different topics and brings different guests on as well. I just learned yesterday that the ML.NET team is going to do a similar concept where they will have ML.NET community stand-up instead, starting this Wednesday. I think it's going to be on like a monthly basis to start with various guests, and they will have different topics to discuss. But the fun thing is that the first guest is going to be me. So I'm going to go and talk a bit about MLOps.net. So if you are curious about that, definitely tune in to that community stand-up. Should be a lot of fun. And I'm actually going to speak in the UK just an hour before that. So I'm going to do a talk and then directly tune into the ML.net community stand-up. So should be busy but really, really fun Wednesday. Yeah. So another thing I want to mention, and I feel like this is an announcement corner right now, sorry about that, but something that's coming up as well here, it's Hacktoberfest. And yeah, I know it's only August, right? But time is flying so quickly right now. That will soon be in October, and it'll soon be time for the Hacktoberfest. So what is Hacktoberfest? For those who haven't done it before, it's kind of the global community coming together to support open source. You can flush out issues in your GitHub repos and add a label to them, and people who may be interested to start contributing can then easily find them and can then easily help out and work on issues here. And you can create meetups around this and events if you want to try to consolidate people and support them in this endeavor. So what I'm hoping that we will be doing is I'm hoping that we will go ahead and flush some of these issues out for the MLOps.net team repo, and hopefully have some of those ready. So if you think of an issue that you think would be a good candidate, definitely either go ahead and directly just open it up and flush it out, or I created an issue the other day here where we can kind of discuss and add a couple of those here as well. So kind of jot down some ideas here if you think about something that will be a good starting point, and we'll make sure it's ready to go, right? That should be good. I also think that maybe, if we're lucky, we'll have the ML.NET team as well doing something similar, so that there will be some issues on the ML.NET repo as itself for us to contribute to. And if that's the case, I definitely want us to jump into those and support that library to whatever they need. Finally, before we get started, I know it's been a lot here. One thing, I'm gonna go to Luis, I think, because he's posted this one. There's the August release of ML.NET, and I think you've kind of already seen it. Let's see if we have Luis's tweets here. There's a great blog post here by Bree on the changes that's come to ML.NET during the August release here. So it's 1.5 and then 1.51 here, and we should definitely check those out. A couple of them I think you definitely will be interested in. We have seasonality support added in forecasting, I think. There is added support for root cause detection as well for anomalies. So if you have anomaly detection, that's something you definitely want to check out. And something that I'm really excited about that I need to check out is the ranking support in AutoML. You should definitely do that. I'll post it in the chat here if anyone wants to kind of read that as we go along today. But this should be quite a bit of fun stuff here. Like, AutoML is something that I don't use necessarily for production cases, stuff like that. You definitely could. There's nothing wrong with that. But I do love it as a good starting point to understand, like, okay, what are some differences for this ML task compared to something I already know, and how do I get started? So that's a really good way of like just getting the seed ready and the models and understand the concepts as a whole. So check that out. There's also support here for local GPU training for image classification, which I think is really cool. So before we've been able to fan out image classification here to an Azure cluster in Azure Machine Learning, but now we can also do this locally on our own computer in the model builder. So that's really cool, I think, because as you can see here, like, go on a CPU with deep learning, it's going to take a long time to train your model. But if you go and have some GPUs, just any GPUs honestly, you will definitely speed that training process up a lot. And let me tell you, I know, because I've been doing this on CPUs for a bit, and my computer blacks out completely. It has a strong CPU, but it can't keep up with the training, and it gets too warm, overheats, and dies. So this is definitely a good addition to the library itself. And finally as well, I think there's a feedback button as well, which has been asked for a while, which is awesome. So if you have like a bug that's going on or something, it's definitely, you can just report it directly to GitHub as well, and feature requests. So that's really cool, I think. So definitely do that, because I think they really want support and understand what's working and not working. So give them feedback, tell them what's working and what's not working, and that should be cool. Alright, I have given you quite a few announcements, but I wanted to share that because that's something I come across during the week here, and I think it's been really cool to follow along here. So definitely check that out. And for those who joined just recently as well, go ahead and follow the virtual dotnet conference as well. We have a Twitter tag here. As I mentioned just at the start here, we are going to do a hackathon in November, probably around mid-November. And I would love everyone to participate. I would love everyone to join in here and be a part of this, because I think it's going to be an awesome event. And we may have prize money, so there may be some prize incentive here, and there may be more swag actually. Me and John are working together with Bree and Luis and Microsoft to organize this conference. So hopefully we'll get some really cool stuff here as well. So check it out. All right. So what do I want to do today? Well, first of all, how's everyone feeling about the library so far? We have a 1.1 release. How do you feel about the 1.1 release? Do we have any feedback so far? Is anyone playing around with it or using it? Do we have anything we want to add already as issues that you know will be something we want to do? Definitely drop some notes in the chat in that case, and you can always ping me on Twitter as well if you want to do that. If you have feedback, definitely let us know. But a big thing with 1.0, right, was the fact that we can deploy a model to a URI. We have deployment support. And as part of 1.1, we fixed up some of the data schema things we had been working on. We also added data distribution support, which was good. As part of 1.2, what I want to do here is I want to add some kind of rudimentary support for containerized deployments. Okay, so we should be able to wrap our ML model in ASP.core API, wrap that and build a container image in Docker, and then push it out to like Azure or AWS or a Docker Hub or something like that for registration, and then deploy it from there to whatever cluster you want. So that's obviously a lot more work than simple URI deployment, but I think we have some really cool points here that we can really push this library forward with. Because if you think about how you do this in Python, I'm not sure how many have done this in Python before. Anyone on the chat has deployed like a scikit-learn model or something like that to Python? Or to like a Flask API or whatever? Let me know if you have. What I want to do here is see if I have an Azure machine learning instance in Azure open, so I can show you the process and why I think we're going to do better than Azure. Let's see here, 1 second. Do I have anything? Okay, I don't have Azure Machine Learning set up in Azure, so I can't really show you that, but a couple of things you want to do here, and I'll kind of jot them down here, is that if we do that in Azure, things we need to do is, hey, you need a pickle file, first of all, but you also need a CUDA file, or you need 2 files anyway. You need one file to define the dependencies that you need for your deployment, and you need another file to define the general API method. So how your payload is going to come into the API, how you're going to transform that payload to a model input, and how you're going to call your model directly from that. And that's all good, right? But that's added complexity, added manual labor for each model. And I think what we can do instead is we can actually automate everything. We can use the type safety of .NET to automatically kind of pass in the payload directly to the model. We can create our own API around this in .NET, and we can automatically generate the code using .NET new templates. So what I've done here is I've created a couple of issues here to support this. We have one here for schema generation. We want to be able to dynamically create a Docker image. We want to be able to push it to a Docker container registry of they're choosing. And we want to be able to deploy this to a cluster. Okay, so what do I mean with all of this? Let's look at it a bit more. Well, in general, what's going to happen is that, let's see if we have a good model here. If you think about how you want to interact with this, how do you think a user want to interact with this? Well, they probably want something like a deploy model to container with a type, right? T input, T output. And then they probably want to pass in a registered model and then a deployment target. That's most likely how we're going to, like as a client, call this whole process that we're going to kick off here. And the reason why we want this is because we want the deployment target to understand what is the deployment environment going to be called. And that's most likely going to be like the namespace in the cluster is going to be called whatever the deployment target is called. And the register model here is going to be whatever we want to wrap up in a container, an API, and deploy. And we also need to specify this T input and T output, which is the model input and the model output. And the reason why we want to do this is because our API will need that, right? So if you look at, like, for example, a simple API here for consuming a model, and we look at how that looks, what we always do, right, is that we pass in a payload here, we get a prediction engine pool with a T input and a T output here, and we call the predict method passing in the payload. So similar to this, we need to know the type of the model input and the type of the model output, if that makes sense. But it's not enough just to know the type, because we need to be able to, it's kind of fun actually, we need to be able to, from the runtime instance that is passed in, we need to be able to auto-generate a C# class, a physical class, a C# like file, so that we can copy those in to an auto-generated API, if that makes sense. And then that whole thing is going to then be wrapped into a Docker container, and we're going to build it and we're going to push it. And And I realize I don't make much sense right now, so we should probably just look at this honestly. And what I want to do today is look at the .NET new templates. So the steps we're going to walk through in general is that we need to be able to auto-generate the schema from T input, T output. So that would be physical classes. We then need to be able to use .NET new template to generate ASP.NET Core API. And remember, this is going to be where we have this model and we're going to have these input classes. So everything on the API is going to be static, like it's going to be like non-changing. It's going to be like a scaffolding template. But we want to copy the model.zip, the T input.cs, whatever that is going to be, and T output.cs to this ASP.NET Core API. Because that's going to be the thing that changes, right? The API itself is going to be the same no matter what model you have, really. The only thing that changes is the model is going to consume, and it's going to be the schema for the input and the schema for the output, right? We then want the ability, once we have that, to generate a Docker image based on that thing. So we need a Docker file here. And then we need to push this to container registry, and finally deploy container to cluster. Right? Super simple. Does anyone have any questions on this so far? Thoughts, ideas, improvements, something you would do differently? I know there's a lot to throw at you all at once here, but that's kind of the idea that I think we want to do here. And as part of this flow today, what I want to focus on is this right here. We have tickets for each of these, so we have issues for each of these. So if you feel like there's something of these that you are like especially good at and want to help out with, definitely do so, because all of this is pretty new to me, and I would love your input as well on each of these instances here. But I want us to create a new template so we can use that as we please here. Alright, so what do I want to be able to do? Well, I want to be able to open up a command prompt, right? And I want to be able to say, hey, .NET, what is it, .NET new, right? Let's see, do we have anything here? So if you do .NET new here, we have these templates that are currently installed on my machine. And so I can, for example, run this .NET new console, right? And it's going to create a new console application. And I can write .NET new MSC or web, and I will create these specific ones here. And you see this language and tags. So I want to create something new, like a .NET new MLNet container or something like that. I don't know what it's going to call it, but maybe something like that, right? Or MLOps net container. And then when I hit enter here and run a CLI command, it's going to auto-generate my specific project. So for example, if I do the new web here, what it's going to do here is going to auto-generate my code based on a template that it already has. And it's going to do restore and everything, and it's going to just be called admin here because I haven't given it a name at all. But let's see what it does here, just to get an understanding of this. And I guess I can go to this folder as well to make sure we can look at this in person. Okay. Find it as well, I guess. Okay. Anyway, it will be doing that. It will be creating a web project for me. It will do a restore and get everything in shiny and nice condition, which is great. So I have yet to really work much with the new templates. I got this tip from a great colleague of mine, Sean Colleen. So what I want to do here is just kind of run through a tutorial real quick to understand how we create these templates. Because the cool thing is that when you create this template, we can then wrap it up in a NuGet package, in a template package thing, which means that we can version these as we do with everything else in mlops.net, and we can also distribute them as the same thing. And then our own package can then consume these when we need to deploy something to a container in a cluster, which is great. So let's walk through these. There's 3 parts here on how to create a template, and I want to make sure we do this one here. So we're going to do a project template because this is a project, and from what I understand, it's important to have a specific structure on the folders here. So we're going to try to do this in the folder and see if we can get this somewhat working. And I'll just do it here so I can remove this when I feel like it. Okay. So the first step here is to create a working folder, right? And then templates, and then a folder name here for our project. So we can call the first folder, can be called maybe deployments for fun here. Add a new folder for templates. So templates. And then we need a new folder for whatever project we're going to create here. So we'll do in here, we'll say, okay, I want a new folder here, and let's call this something fun. So what are we going to call this? MLNet's API, maybe. Let's see. What is the good name for this? I think MLNet API is okay for right now. So we're gonna have a template for MLNet API. And in here, we want to create a new application. So this one is not doing what I want anyway. So I'm gonna go and create a new project. Let's see, they wanted to do it using a CLI. We don't necessarily need to do that. So we'll just open up Visual Studio instance here and create an ASP.NET Core application here from scratch. We can copy quite a bit here, so it should be pretty good. So we'll do create a new project here. 1 second. See if I can get this to the right place. So what we want here is an ASP.NET Core app, web application like this in C#, and we can call this MLOps.NET API. Actually, let's call it MLNet API. It's a horrible name. I don't like that name. But I don't really have a better name right now. I'm going to put this in the MLOps.NET folder here. Oh, not here, sorry. I'm going to go to my Git repo. Source, deployment, templates, and select folder. And let's go ahead and call this, I think that's fine. Okay, I'm gonna create that and see where that takes us. Perfect. And we're gonna call this in, let's do an empty one so we don't have to worry about that. Let's add support for Docker. That should be perfect. Configure for HTTPS. Do we want that? I guess we want that. Okay, I think that's good. How's everyone's weekend so far? Any plans coming up this weekend for anyone? Anyone having some fun things you want to do? So let's see, we have this, and we can go ahead and update this as well if you need to. Cool, that's great. I'm glad you're still pushing forward on that, Brett, at your company. Sorry. Clicked on the wrong button here, but that's okay. How is it to find business cases, Brett? Is it do you find it easy? I find it both easy and hard sometimes, personally. Don't think that. Okay, that's good. So we can build let's build it and just try it first before we do anything else here. Actually, let's try to wrap some things up here so make sure we see that it's different. Okay, so this is good. So if we build it, we have to make sure we remove all the bin and object folders, otherwise they'll be part of this as well, which you don't want. So let's create a template config files first, and then we can create the remaining stuff here. So now what we need to do is here we want to create a template config here as well in this place right here. So we'll have a template.config, right? Template. Yeah, exactly. It's a good one. I mean, I think important to keep in mind the business value, right? But I think that's always the thing. Is it needed? How can we do it in another way? Okay. So now we need to do a template JSON here. So in here we can then create a new file, and let's call it. Let's call it template JSON. Template.json. Okay, let's remove that and open Visual Studio Code instead here, and do that. See if we can get that working. What I'm trying to do here is just to get the first thing here, more or less, and then if we can get it to build as a template, we can then start adding things to the template that we think is necessary. But I think it makes sense just to get the basic piping up and running here first. And the reason why this is awesome is because we can then have different versions for different MLNet versions, which is going to be, I think, valuable. So if we want to support like a new version of ML.net and some other ones in parallel, we can do that with different versions here. Absolutely. Let's see, where's this? Templates, right? Okay. Let's open up that folder and let's go ahead and create something in this folder, a JSON file. So new file, I think template.config. I think that was the name, right? Template.json. Okay. There we go. And we can have this specific thing here for the configuration for this template. And the short name here is going to be MLNet API, I think. I mean, for now at least. We can call this to be ASP.NET Core API for ML.NET. And identity, okay. So we need to set that properly, and I guess identity is going to be I guess we don't need necessarily a whole solution here like we did right now. We just need a project. Well, I wonder how this is going to work. Well, we can certainly try. So this will be let's just put the tags, I guess. I wonder what this is going to be. What is the identity set to here? That's what I'm wondering. Example template async projects. See the first one if we can get a better understanding of what the specific one is here. Identity. What is example templates? Yeah, I think it's okay. I think we can set it to kind of what we want, honestly. It doesn't seem to be linked to the path or anything. We'll just call it mlops.net here. API. Okay. Let's look at full schema, because I wonder if we can do like a solution type as well here, since that's also potentially an option. Where did it say that we have a full schema here? Okay. Tags, type. Well, you know what, let's try to install this and see where it leads us. I think that's a good start, right? So where do we have that? So we want to, so we have this template and now we want to install it. And okay. So we want to go ahead and navigate there. And it's going to be under deployments, templates. Okay. And we're going to say .NET new. Okay. .NET. Oh, sorry, that was not what I wanted to do. There we go. Okay, so it seems like we did something here. And where is the one? Okay, so here we go. So we have installed a template here at least. Looks like we have something. We have an ASP.NET Core API for ML.NET right here. Awesome. Okay, so question is, can I now use it in a reasonable way here? Oh, sorry. Test deploy templates. Okay, so now we have a test folder. I guess that's the idea of the test folder here. Test working, okay. So let's go ahead and add a test folder so we can test it and remove it if we need to. And I think usually what they've done is they create a test folder right here. And like that we can navigate there and test this. So we'll go up 2 levels and go down to the test folder, and we'll do .NET new and we'll net API like this. And let's see if what we get from this. The template was created successfully. Okay. Well, let's see if that actually is the case. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Let's close the one we have. Well, let's actually open up again and see if this is actually working as expected. I think so. This would be awesome if that's the case. We have to figure out what we want to name things in that case, but I think that would be a really good thing. So I'm opening up the new project we just created, and surely it looks like it's working just fine. Okay, that is good. This is great. So why is this good? Well, let's look at what we can do with this. So once we have started creating these, yep, Brett, I actually have a social weekend. I had plans with friends last night, which was like the first time forever, and I got plans with friends tomorrow, which is also the first time in forever. So it'll be that kind of weekend, and then it's going to be a kitchen renovation weekend for me. We're not starting it, but we are prepping by getting rid of appliances and other things that we're not going to keep. So mostly a home improvement weekend. So what can we use this for, right? Well, the idea here is that once we get these templates set up, we can actually create a template pack, and a template pack here can then be packaged, I think, to a NuGet package, if I'm not mistaken here. So, new template pack, and we can then distribute that as well together with our current NuGet packages, and we can use that, I think, a NuGet feed. So that's going to be a good way for us to be able to deploy it with it and install it. So we can get there, I think, later, but let's kind of first make sure we create an API that we are happy with, that we can work with. Sound good, Brett? And since we kind of know how this works right now, I wonder what the structure is going to be like. I think you want this still under the source. I'm trying to think if we want the same names here. Deployment, for example, is a... I think this is a good name still, deployment, because that's kind of what it's going to be like. It's going to be related to that at least. We can also bring it up. I'm trying to think right now if it makes sense to put this under source, or it's going to be its own like folder up. I think it makes sense to put it under source, called deployment, because that's kind of where it's related to. The only thing I'm really concerned about right now is this name here. The reason why I think we have to think about this a bit is because what we'll have here is going to have, you know, an API for MLNet 1.5, right? And then suddenly they come up with 1.6, and it has breaking changes. So we want to be able to have like a client that can support both. So it's like as a consumer, you can say deploy my model to container and you know, MLNet version, whatever, and they can pass in a version or something if they want a specific one, and we will pick templates based on what they choose instead. So we want, I guess what I'm saying is we want a good way of naming these or something to make that obvious. But I think for now we can probably just call it this. But I want to have a better name, so I'm going to close this. I'm going to go ahead and create a new one. I'm going to remove the one we have, but I'm going to keep the config file. So we have the template config, that's all good, but we don't need this one. Let's remove this one. I thought I closed this already. Okay. And let's knock this out real quick here. Perfect. So let's do this. Let's create an actual API that we were happy with a name and everything from scratch here, with the things we also need here. So web app, yep, let's do that. Let's call this, let's put it under the same folder again. Not under repos, I always forget that. Okay. MLOps.net, source deployment, templates. Okay, so we'll put it in here, and the question is, can we call it like MLOps.net API template, something like that? Is that a better name? Or should we call it ML.net API template? Let's see, naming is really hard, always. And do we need a whole solution, or we just... Okay, well, we need a new solution, that's fine. ML.net API templates. I would think we call it MLOps.net API template, because this is what we're doing right now. Okay, that's a better name, I think. It's an API template. Makes it more specific. Okay, make it empty. Okay. Yeah. We'll start with it. We can also rename it, I guess. Alright, so we'll have Docker support, because that's what we want. Make it a 3.1 to start off with. So the thing here that we want to think of here, there's a couple of things we want to add to this one before we create a template of it. Is we want a controller. So we need a controller here. Let's do that. And we can call this, what should we call this? I think predict controller maybe? Because this is going to be the same for all of them. I think it's going to be predict controller. And maybe prediction is better. Prediction controller. Prediction. Like that. So in this prediction controller, oh, it's funny. It applies to the whole thing here. Okay. Here, what we want here is not the property, but we can actually copy paste from the review predictor library here. So what we want is something like this, where we have a prediction engine pool, and we have some input and output, but we're going to make it more generic so it can be used for anything we want here. So we do need, let's put this into a proper folder, controllers, in case we make it bigger. Namespace should be controllers. And we'll put another folder here for models, right? So we need models. And in models here, we need a model input and model output. So we need a model input, we'll just keep them generic because it's going to be changed, right? It's going to be dynamically changed based on what the client of this library will need to have. So we're going to keep them empty for now because they are not going to be filled in. But we have model input, model output, and we will also need to install m.net here. So we'll do .net. Okay, sorry. Let's add package Microsoft. I think that's the package add. I can't remember it. That's okay. We'll just add it here. We'll just copy paste, even easier. So we'll need the extension package actually, because this is going to you do everything we want and some more. And I think there's a 1.5 release out here, so we're going to do that. So we'll do 1.5.1 here. A little patch coming in here. Okay, I'm not sure what that is. Let's see. And in the prediction controller here, we need to include the proper namespace here. It's going to be model input. Right. And let's see, do we have this one? Yeah, perfect. And we'll do that. Prediction. Yeah, that's fine. And I think for a route here, we're gonna remove that, so we don't need to worry about that. So it's gonna be like prediction, and then we're just gonna post the whole payload there, I think. I think that'd be the best here. We're gonna call this model input, make it more generic. And I thought this was already working. Model outputs. Not spelling properly. Okay. So that's better. And now we just need to add some generic ones here. That will be dynamically. Okay, let's see if this builds. So what we should have now is the general scaffolding for an API in general, where we should be able to pass things in here. And okay, of course we need a prediction here. So yeah, okay, it's perfect. So we actually don't, in our case, we should just return model output, and the consuming application can then handle that themselves, I think. I think that'd be the best way of doing this. And I really don't want I don't want that in this folder. It's requiring XML comments because we're in the source folder, and that's great for the library, but I don't really care about that here. So honestly, I'm starting to want to suppress this. But since it's just like auto-generated, I'm just going to add my comments here, and I'll fight the fight for this right now. I think that's easier. We already have comments anyway, we just can make them XML comments, and that's all good, you know? Okay. to have one more here? I don't think so. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense. What are you complaining about now? Let's redo this one. Okay. Okay, let's see if we can build this. Get this working. Perfect. So one thing that we have to do still is wire up. Which one? Which comment is wrong? This one starts with nothing, I know, but is any of them that is incorrect? I'm going to continue. Let me know, Brett, if there was something I need to look at. I think what I wanted to do here was I wanted to... Okay. I think this is fine, right? It builds at least for now. Yeah. So one thing we have to do as well is wire up the actual zip file here. So we need to add the prediction engine pool to our configure services method here to make sure that's kind of wired up and ready to go here. So in our configure services here, we need to kind of get that going here. And I don't think, was there anything else I need to do there? Add controls as well to make sure we get that auto injected. And we have model input and model output. Oh, sorry. Good catch. I see it. I will fix it. 4 more information I think should be right. Good catch, Brett. Thank you. Alright. So, as we see right now, we have no model zip anywhere. But we'll need to copy one over, right? But for now, I think it makes sense just to assume it's going to be in the bin folder next to us. So as you see here, things we don't have right now that we need to add, well, absolutely add, right? They will definitely be forgotten. Is the model zip file, and that has to be copied over dynamically when the client wants to deploy this. So we can auto-generate this this API with the dotnet new. We could then copy over the model zip file to the right location, just in the bin folder. We could then copy over the model input and model output things as well to their proper places. So I think what the thing would be is, yeah, that should probably be the way we do this. I'm trying to think of how we did the review controller here. But I think what we did was we built it first and then we copied over. Let's look at the GitHub file actually. We have GitHub action file for the review predictor. And let's see how that is built in the API here. Let's go to the workflow file here. So the way we do this right now here is we train the model, which makes sense, upload it to an artifact, and then we try to build the image here, and we'll do that by downloading the zip file here, right? So we are putting that model zip here in the review predictor path here, and then we copy it always, I think. So I think, yeah, I think that what makes this work is this. So if the model zip is in the folder of the project, and let's look at that even more detail here, it's going to automatically copy it over to the bin folder when we build it. And I wonder if we can do that here or not. Does it make sense? So if we have a model zip file here, I think it's going to be copied over. I'm looking at this bit. But yeah, I think that makes sense. Does it build by itself if you do that? So I like the idea of just being able to copy it, copy both the input, model output, and the model, and build. That will be the easiest way of doing this for sure. So I'm going to put that into our project file, and I'm going to see if that builds still. Like that. Let's see if that builds. Okay, so it doesn't necessarily need to be there, but if it's there, it's going to copy it over probably. We can actually try that real quick as well. Let's put a model.zip file in that location and see if it copies over or not. Because that would be great if it does. Source, deployment, templates. And I probably put this in the wrong place right now. I'm gonna change this name here. Let's try it again. Actually, let's do it in just a bit by closing this first. I think we need to move that down, that's why I'm doing this. So we need to move this in here. We need to rename this. We need to change the template config here for a name. I'm going to be very explicit here. Yeah, not the shortest name of things, but hey, it's going to work. Okay, so we can open up this again, and we're going to go in here, and we're going to put a fake model zip in here to see if when we build it, it's going to be copied over or not. So we'll say, oh, not a container, not a folder, but we'll do, let's do a zip file here. We'll do it model.zip. Well, let's zip it up actually. Where is that? Send to zipped file, I think. Okay. So if we build now, I'm hoping that this is going to also end up in the bin folder. So let's do that. Let's build this. Okay. If I look at the bin folder here, debug, I don't have that. And do I need to rebuild to get that? Let's remove everything we have here. This is just so I understand where we should put this model zip folder and file once we get there. Okay, so it's not necessarily copying it over as expected here, which is a little shame, I think. So why is that the case? Oh, is it because it's model zip.zip? Is that why? Yeah, I see. It's named the wrong thing. Okay, let's try this again. Okay, perfect. So if you put it in that place and we build it, we're gonna get this nice bin folder, and then we can use that later for deployments and all kind of cool stuff. Great. So let's remove that and let's look at the Docker file and see what else we need to change there as well. So we have a Docker file for the review predictor. Is there anything we can copy from here? Like here's pretty simple stuff in general. It's not doing anything fancy. For our current API here, I'm sure it's doing a lot more. Okay. Just the standard stuff, I think, yeah. Publish, everything else. Before we even do this though, we want to make sure we copy over the files in the right place here. But let's start this API and see if we at least can have this working. We didn't, yeah, okay. Let's make sure we get this working. Can I put a breakpoint here? Yep, okay. Hello world, that's great, thank you for that. Where is that? We have to remove that as well. I see, okay. So use endpoints, that is fine, we don't really care about that one, so let's remove that one as well. And do we have any setting for this one? Map controllers, yeah, thank you. Okay, I think that's good. Let's try this again. And let's go and use Postman here. See if you can hit this endpoint and get some more information on what's going on here. Okay, perfect. So we started, doesn't have anything because we don't have anything to show. But we should have a post method here being able to do that. The only thing I'm concerned about is the HTTPS here, because we don't necessarily have a certificate. So we may have to just skip that. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, we got things back, but nothing that we cared about. I would expect us to go in here. So we're not getting any response back really, or we're not hitting the breakpoint, which is a little bit concerning. Prediction. Oh, it's API prediction. Okay. That makes sense. Okay, but it's hitting the right method, I think, as well. We don't have a model zip file here, and yeah, okay. I'm okay with that because we don't have a model zip file. We have to test this more properly later, and that is okay. But I think in general, this is kind of what we want to have. The only thing I would change is the SSL setup, because we won't have a certificate, I think, to play with. And I wonder if that should be done now or later, honestly. We can leave now. So let's try to install this template again, right? And see if it works. And then if it does, we can at least open a PR with this change to have created an API that we can play around with. So if we want to install this, that's going to be done in the dotnet install again, right? And before we do that, we want to remove these things. Okay. we want to go back to templates, and I think this is where we want to be. .NET install, right? Was that the word? .NET new install. Okay. Do we have to remove it first because we already have one? That's probably the case here. So how do you uninstall the templates? Uninstall. I guess you should give a name as well. Huh. MLNet API. Oh, I think I didn't update the short name. That's why it looks like it actually... I thought I did update the short name. Templates config, templates. Okay, let's look at this one real quick here. Yeah, I did update the short name, so why is that? Well, let's uninstall this one. Uninstall this one, okay. Let's uninstall this one, and then let's install it again. Make sure we have it clean and good here. Okay, now let's install this. Let's see if this works. Okay. Oh, did I put the... no. I'm so surprised that I have this short name here. Which is like obviously not what we're supposed to have here. I expected that to be different. I haven't not saved this file maybe? I don't think I saved the file. There we go. It's not saved. It gets me all the time. Let's try this again. Here we go. Alright, so that's much better. So now we should be able to go back to the test folder and remove whatever we have and try it again to make sure it works, and then open it PR with this change here. .NET new okay. And I guess you can also do like things like build and restore here, but we don't necessarily need to do that. But yeah. Okay, well that looks like it's creating that by itself, which is great. So we actually have a template now for a basic API project for ML.NET with model input, model output. And the next step I think would be to package the NuGet package. But to start off with, let's open up a PR, like a partial PR for this template here. This is not going to fix this PR, but at least we can create a template of it, so we get a bit of smaller PR as well. Because I do think we need to do a couple of smaller PRs here to make sure it's easy to follow along what we're doing. So let's bring my changes here, and we have tons of stuff here we can ignore. if we go ahead and change this later. But this looks good. Docker ignore is fine. Get a solution in here. So the question is, do I want to ignore these things? I think we are. We can keep these, it's okay. Got that one. Docker file should be in there as well. Project should be in as well. Launch setting JSON, I don't feel like we need that necessarily. It's fine, we can check that in as well. Did I have a Docker ignore already? Okay. Why do we have a separate solution here? Oh, it's a test one. Okay. We want to ignore everything in a test one. Where's my git ignore here? So we want to make sure we don't have anything in a test folder as part of this. Let's go ahead and change that. So it's going to be deployment test. Right. Git. There's the git ignore. Okay, let's see. So anything in a test folder should be gone here as well. So we should be able to say source test. I think that should work. Let's see if that's, yep, okay, perfect. So we cleaned that up already. So if anyone wants to play around with tests, they don't have to worry about the check-in here. Looks good. Nice. Okay. Brett, what do you think? Do you think this is a good starting point for this template at least? Creating API with templates. I think it's a good starting point. Open up in PR to like partially fix this, and we'll continue working on this as well, but want to make sure we have smaller and understandable PRs. I've created too many big PRs lately. Yeah, I know, sorry about that. It takes forever to review. Generic, right? ML API. So I'm not going to say partially resolves 3 or 4, because you don't want to close that one. This is small PR support 3 or 4. Create the simple generic ML.net ASP report app that serves as a template. And the remaining steps of this PR is, or this issue is that we also want to then create a template package. So next step here is to create a template package based on this template that we can distribute. And I'll add a link here to that documentation so we can easily find that as we go forward and do some stuff here. Alright, I think that's a good start here. Cool. So next thing we have to do then is create a template package. but I'm actually going to call it a short stream today, and have to get back to some of my real life things as well to do with the kitchen and the day as a whole here. But this has been a great start, I think, and I do want to definitely ask you if you want to look at different issues here. There are tons of these issues for deployment. Definitely have a look at them as well, because I think there's a couple of things we can discuss before we start doing them on how to best do these things. I think the schema generation, for example, would be a really fun one to get into if you are interested in reflection and use code generation as a whole here as well. So we should definitely look at these issues and continue working on this repo, and we will do so. But yeah, hope you have a great weekend and great week. And as always, check out the dotnet stand-up this week that's coming up. Check out the virtual dotnet conference that's coming up in November. And hope to see you next time. Thank you all, and have a great weekend and a great week.